I'm checking. I'm looking, waiting for Eric.
Is it still waiting?
It's probably just a little delay. Yes, it's still waiting. Well, it's just 7.
Correct.
Yes, it's still waiting. Well, it's just 7.
Correct. I heard an echo, so you know what that means?
There's two on, right? We're live.
I heard an echo, so you know what that means? There's two on, right? We're live. I heard an echo, so you know what that means? Yeah, baby. All right, so everybody lower their microphones because we got a ton of feedback that's happening here. Let's go. Ramsey's here. Dan Frio's here. We are finally live. My name is Eric Larkin with Real Brokers here in Cocoa Beach, Florida. There's a horrible echo on my side. Do y'all hear this echo?
Yeah, I think you need to stop the YouTube. There's the YouTube's playing on somebody.
Yep. Close it down. Technical difficulties, but we're getting through it. All right. For those of you tuning in, this broadcast here going live, we're going to be looking at the headlines that we've been seeing in the real estate market. We've got a housing bubble that's coming. The real estate market's about to crash. The interest rates are definitely rising. There's talks of foreclosures and short sales coming back. It's kind of a scary place. And that's what we're going to be covering in this YouTube Live. Before we get to that, my name is Eric Larkin. I'm a real estate agent here in Cocoa Beach, Florida. And besides doing videos like this, I do help people buy and sell real estate. So if you have plans of making a move to the Cocoa Beach area, I'm here to help. And those 3 people that have joined me here today, they're here to help you as well. I've got Aimee Burroughs from Palm Beach. We have Michele Bellisari from Boca Raton. And we have Hector Chinea from Miami. Thank you all for tuning in. What's that?
Hola from Miami.
Muy bien. Cool. So how's everybody doing tonight?
You're doing great. Thank you.
All good.
Awesome. And I appreciate everybody tuning in. I see people say that we still have an echo and a ringback. If we're still having that, if you can let us know about that too, I would certainly appreciate it. So let's talk a little real estate as we're trying to get through our little technical difficulties here.
Yep.
How is the market? Is the bubble actually happening? Who wants to jump in on this one first?
Let's debunk all of this.
Debunk. Let's debunk.
What's going on?
Of course.
Because what is your feed feeding you? I mean, let's be honest. What's it feeding you? Is it positivity? Is it negativity? I mean, I would argue that no matter what the topic is, it's probably going to feed you some negativity. And the real estate market it's doing amazing. I mean, we'll go into detail with that, but I'm going to throw it back to you guys.
Well, when you say amazing, what exactly do you mean by that?
Well, we are not going into a housing, this bubble's not going to burst. And, all of these foreclosures that people are talking about and, the market's crashing and all of these prices are coming down. And that's just not the total reality, right? Like, yes, these numbers are coming down. However, they are coming down and normalizing. So rather than speeding up at a rapid pace of 20, 30% in some areas, maybe it's only going up by 9%. Guys, that's not bad. That's still amazing. In a normal market, these prices are going up by 2.5 to 3%, right? So we're still going up. And I think that right now we need to have this normalized, right? We need to have these numbers slow down because it's out of control.
Well, what are you seeing with like the active inventory that's out there? Because I know prices are definitely still on an uptick. I know here in Cocoa Beach, and I imagine down south where y'all are at as well. What about the selection that buyers are having or sellers are having to compete up against? Are we seeing more or less of the active inventory?
I could jump in on that. I picked up a listing last week, put it on the market, gave myself 5 days to market the property, get the photos done, had some video done as well. And we got offers over asking. We were able to even counter back and we got exactly what we wanted. One of my clients was also what I got from my client as well was a 30-day post occupancy, no charge. So we're talking $925,000. We're not talking a small home. We're talking a decent sized home here in Miami. So I think the market is still strong. I did a little bit of research, Eric, because we've been talking about this for a little bit.
Mhm.
And our inventory in Miami is actually down. We are down. We were at a 6-month inventory. We're at a 2.5-month inventory right now. So our market here is very strong.
So recently you were at a 6-month inventory and it's dropped to a 2.5?
No, year over year, from May
got it.
2021 to May 2022.
Perfect. I know here in Cocoa Beach, the first of the year, well, it's more the Brevard County numbers. We were just about 950 properties were here in January, and we're looking now here middle of June. We have 1,550 properties on the market. So our inventory here is taking like a 35% jump since the first of the year.
Wow.
Sales are down a little bit from what we're used to seeing as well, but I still believe it's a pretty strong seller's market.
Sure. And like Aimee was saying, right? I mean, the nice thing about what we're seeing right now is we're seeing a balance, right? We're not seeing, this thing just shooting up like a rocket, right? You know about rockets, right, Eric? I mean,
All the time. I am on the Space Coast.
Yeah, for sure. But I like the fact that it's normalizing and it's allowing my local buyers that kept getting priced out. It's allowing for a happy medium between buyers and sellers. So like Aimee, I agree. I mean, I think the market is awesome right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I
actually
think having a good balance is so important because buyers were getting so frustrated. And there are people who really need to buy. So having this balance is so important right now. I know looking at the MLS, we were talking about this earlier, but the MLS here has around 22,000 active listings. We have a very large MLS. I think it's like the third largest in the country. So it goes from South Broward, which is down South Fort Lauderdale, all the way up to Port St. Lucie. And about a month ago, we had about 17,000 active listings. Now, as of today, we have just over 22,000. But in the last week, we've had quite a few new listings come on the market, like several thousand. And we are starting to see some price changes, though. And I think that's the big piece that we're starting to see. In the last week, in the MLS, we've had 3,880 price changes. Typically, that's a price improvement, or let's just call it what it is. It's a price reduction. And that typically is those sellers that are overpriced. At the end of the day, I think we can all somewhat agree that the top of the market is behind us as far as those
100%.
prices.
So this isn't the good market to test the price point and see how high you're going to get.
Yeah.
Those prices that you were getting back in January, February, March, kind of pushing into April, those don't exist anymore.
Right.
Correct.
No, I mean, we did our best to get our buyers. Actually, we did our best to get our sellers under contract and say, look, we need to move because the market is going to shift. I think everybody that's on this call, we knew this was coming, right?
We saw it coming.
There's the freight train. It's heading right at you.
Yep.
Get it on the market. Let's get it on there. Let's do what we got to do to move it. Now they're coming back and saying, hey, I want to move my property now. And I'm like, we got to talk about this because the market has shifted.
But properties are still selling if it's, it goes back to what's the quality or condition of your property. Are you going to be pricing it right? And then accessibility. How easy is it for somebody to get in and show it? Your property will sell, but you can't try to get 25% over where things have been selling at or listing at, because then you'll become one of those stale listings.
That's right.
Yeah. Michelle's going through something right now. Michele, why don't you touch on the property that you have and the fact that you've had to adjust the price on it?
Oh, just in general. I think it's not just me. It's just in general. We've had to do some price adjustments. And I think the sellers are understanding on that. Listen, it is what it is. And our goal is to get offers on properties, not just to have showings on properties. And to really have a finger on the pulse to see, like, okay, what is the feedback? I stalk those agents that, aren't giving me feedback, because it's important to us as agents who are watching this to give us feedback on the listing. What did your buyer think? How did they feel the pricing was, condition, things like that. So I mean, in a normal market, we do have price improvements. I will say that my email is somewhat filled up with emails from agents, and in particular, some very high profile luxury agents. They are absolutely cutting prices because they're just overpriced. They're great properties. They're just a little overpriced right now.
Cool. Now I got one of the questions here from Dan Frio. He's a lender in Chicago. He also has a great YouTube channel. He wanted to know where our inventories are at across the board. So I know here in the Brevard County market, we're looking at about a 1 month supply. It was 3 to 4 weeks is what it was that I last checked. And I believe it's trending up a little bit more than that, but we're at about a 1 month supply. How about y'all? Where are you at on this?
I would say about a month and a half.
Yeah, just under 2 months, maybe 1.8, something like that.
Yep.
So a little uptick, which is, I think, something that was needed, but it's good to hear where everybody else is at as well.
Yeah.
I'm at 2.5 months, Eric. That's where I am.
Where are you at?
I'm at 2.5 months.
Okay.
So it's healthy.
Are you guys noticing too that the buyers, and this is a really great thing, so any buyers that are out there listening, you have to understand that it is still a seller's market. However, buyers are actually back in the game of being able to ask for a little more terms than they were 3-4 months ago, or even like 2 months ago. So it's not like you're buying at the peak either, because these numbers are still going up. So next year at this time, you're going to have equity in your home. And but you're also able to ask for a little bit more terms in some cases, not always, but definitely in some cases.
Yeah, we just did. We got on one of the ones that were under contract that's closing in about 20 days. We were able to get a credit. You know, a year ago, that's
wasn't happening.
No.
Nothing happened. But we were able to get a sizable credit. I mean, I think a $42,000 credit is pretty good. But it's like Eric said, it's all about condition.
Yes.
It is. And it's nice to see.
Now. Let's talk about condition here in a minute too.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
I was going to say, it's nice to see the buyers be able to get they're not competing as much against other offers. I've had several buyers that have presented their offers here the last week to 10 days, and they're the only offer that the seller's looking at, which has allowed us to we've extended the inspection period instead of a 5-day inspection period. We actually, recently we had a 15-day inspection period. I was really surprised it was accepted, but it's a good thing for the buyer to be able to get those extra inspections done to make sure that the house is in a good condition for them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so all the buyers that are on the fence or have been on the fence or scared or have PTSD from all of the craziness, you need to get with your trusted agent and have this conversation with them right now, because it's not what it was even a month and a half ago. Yeah. Right now, you're really in a buffered state. So
they need to come back to the market. It's ready for them.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Well, not only that, but the millennial buyers that have been wanting to get into the market, there is a window now where they're not competing with so much cash too. Yes, you're going to pay a little bit higher of an interest rate, but what's going around right now? You're not married to the rate.
Yes.
Date the house, not the rate.
100%. Because
marry the house, date the rate.
There you go.
They can easily refinance a couple years from now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Amy, can you repeat that for the people in the back, please?
Marry the house, not the rate.
Right.
Brilliant. I love that.
That's awesome.
All right. So let's see. We've talked about where the active inventory is. We got sales are. Did we talk about where the sales were going? Are they trending up? Are they trending down? Or the number of transactions that are closing every week or month have you seen them leveling off yet?
I'll jump in on this super quick. I would say that these numbers, you guys, are starting to go back to pre-pandemic numbers, right? And so 2021 was an outstanding year, absolutely outstanding year, right? And pre-pandemic, the prices were still amazing. I mean, the market was still fantastic, but I think those numbers are going back to pre-pandemic.
I have to agree. And even if it does go back to pre-pandemic, that's a mouthful. It's still a seller's market, because
absolutely.
2018, 2019, we had 3,500 or so properties available here in Brevard County. We were selling 1,100 properties a month, and that's a 3-month supply. In the slower months, which were typically January and February, it might have creeped up to a 4-month supply, but then come spring and summertime, we're at a high 2 or low 3-month supply of homes for sale.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We have our dollar volume has gone up on sales by 3% year over year. Our median sale price has gone up 27%. The cash buyers are still strong. We went from 48 to 52% on cash buyers. And our active inventory in Miami, right? This is we're from like the Dade County, Broward County line all the way down to the bottom of Homestead. Our active inventory is only just a tick up year over year by 0.2%. So
there you go.
I would say it's stable. Our market is stable. Yeah. It's balanced. I want it to stay this way because I really feel bad for my FHA buyers or my local buyers that, are now coming back. And I told them, listen, it's time to come back. It's time to come back. The market is going to work. Aimee said it. Marry the home, not the rate. And like you said, refi. You're good.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Love it.
Dang, I remember when those rates were at like 12%.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
I do.
I do.
My first rate was not, I got out of the Navy. I bought a little townhome. My first rate, I didn't use the VA because it didn't make sense. It was 8.75%.
Yeah. And that was probably really good.
Hector, is that a fax machine behind you?
So, no, I have an e-fax.
That's awesome, Dan. You've got good eyes.
Dan, geez. No, it's actually a really like high-end printer so that I can print my brochures. I know I could probably get a better deal going Office Depot, but I just like to print here,
It's all good.
You're not with that.
Oh my God. I actually do have an old fax. Anyway? Come again?
Are people still faxing? Is that even a thing still?
Yeah,
well, if they have their AOL email addresses, maybe they are.
Oh yeah.
We still see
Let me
those
go over
from time to time.
pick up my new disc.
I actually do have an AOL email and a floppy. So
look at that.
But don't tell anyone, please.
What do you guys think, like with the sellers right now, the big challenge is they want to fix things up. And it's like you want to get that out there for them to handle their deferred maintenance, but not to the extent that it's going to be a big delay, because I think that's, one thing that, a lot of sellers wanted to do. And then, things started to cool off a little bit.
Depends on how invasive you're going to go. If it's just a little bit of paint, maybe a couple of baseboards that need to be reattached, changing out a couple of doors, that's not a big deal. If they're going to gut a bathroom, you're looking at a 2 to 4 week process. At least. And the biggest problem now, guys, it's not about gutting the bathroom. It's finding the people that are going to gut the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue that I'm seeing here. If it's a kitchen, forget it. You're looking at 3 months, maybe longer, because it's got to get ordered. And then it's got to fit, and then they've got to. It's just a nightmare.
It's better to adjust the price or give some type of credit, because more than likely, what's the chances of the buyer that's going to be looking at that actually likes the kitchen anyway? I'm sure it helps with the showings and the photos and other things like that, but you've really got to weigh in on that.
I agree with you 100% because you know what, Michele, you may like gray, but Aimee likes blue, and Eric may like white, and then all of a sudden,
I love white.
Yeah, I love white too. Everybody loves white now, but what if you put I saw a black kitchen the other day. Beautiful high-end black kitchen. It was really, I thought it was beautiful. But that could be a turnoff. That would turn off a specific buyer. So you just threw good money after bad.
So speaking of these buyers, where is it that your buyers are coming from? Do you see a particular trend of folks moving into your area? Do you have people that have been renting for all this time and they're finally deciding, hey, with the change in the market, it's time for me to buy, or upsizing, downsizing? What's happening in your local place?
I see a little bit of everything, but I will tell you, Boca Raton is an international city and destination. And we have over, I think, half of the corporate headquarters in Palm Beach County here in Boca. We also are having the Brightline train station as we speak. That is being built. That's going to be an amazing.
I'm really excited about that.
Huge.
So excited because Brightline has a station in West Palm. They're building one in Orlando. They have the Fort Lauderdale one, building one in Aventura, and they have the Miami one. So we're going to have the Go Brightline, which you can find gobrightline.com. We're going to have that station here, which is going to be fantastic for people who want to live in Boca, but maybe work in Miami or work in West Palm. We also really have emerging tech hubs here. Hector, Miami is a huge tech hub. I think the map that came out during Art Basel that really showed all these tech companies that came into South Florida was a big deal. But all the way up Boca, even up into West Palm where Aimee is, we've got tech happening. So we also have typically lower property taxes here. We have no state income tax in Florida. And it's just a very favorable business environment. So I see people who are relocating here who want to buy a home, and they're cool with still Zooming and doing virtual, which is one of the things that came out of having this pandemic was adjusting how we work across the board now. And so, I've been here for 45 years in Boca. I've seen a lot of changes. I love it. And this whole area, our sister cities of Delray and Deerfield, Lighthouse Point, and then access to Cocoa Beach and Miami and Palm Beach Gardens and Jupiter. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
Well, talk to me. You didn't mention the weather. Tell me about your weather, guys. Look
at this weather.
Look at this weather. I mean, I was in Cocoa.
It is tropical paradise.
It is paradise. I mean, we live in paradise. We live where people want a vacation. I mean, who wouldn't want to live here? But my buyers, Eric, to your question, my buyers are mostly local right now. I don't have a lot of buyers. I deal more with sellers, but the buyers that I am seeing and the buyers that are calling me, with the exception of 2 of them, I've got 10 going, but I've got 2. One is coming from Studio City, California, and the other one is coming from up north. I think it's like Connecticut or something like that. But everybody else is local. And like I said, I started telling my local clients that said, hey, we're going to take a break and rent for another year. I always tell them, leave your lease open-ended in case of a market shift.
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to do that. And one of them is going to be able to get out of their lease after we find a home and they can close on it. So a lot of the local people, and I can see that happening in all our markets. I think we're going to see more and more of that.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Aimee? What's drawing people to Palm Beach? Do you have people that are actually moving into the area, or just staying, just upsizing and downsizing?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of business transfers there for sure. We have Carrier that's there. A lot of people transfer into Carrier, FPL. A lot of the engineers that are coming here for Sikorsky and things like that. So that's always kind of like a reoccurring. Mm-hmm. But we also, fantastic schools. It's beautiful. Fantastic athletics for the kids. And a lot of people that I'm finding are coming from Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, California.
A lot of West Coasters,
a lot of West Coasters, a lot of them. So yeah, they're still coming. And I heard somewhere that there's about 1,000 people moving to Florida every day.
Wow.
It's 1,000 to 1. The ratio that I heard is 1,000 coming in to 1 moving out. That's a lot.
We're growing.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Which is why I've encouraged, I have some buyers that are coming down here and they can't necessarily find something that they love. So we're purchasing, smaller units for them just to stay in, to then be able to turn back around and either rent it out after or then sell it, because we know this market's still going up. So stop renting. And, I know you're looking for something in particular, but there's no need to, that's my daughter.
Yep. She realized you're live and she's out of there.
She had no idea. Yeah. So instead of renting, because the rent is it's out of control, and that's only going up, right? That's not coming back down.
Well, let's
Actually,
talk about the rental market.
Let's
Yeah,
talk
go ahead,
about
Michelle.
Go ahead,
actually,
Michelle.
I am seeing price reductions on rentals. I
You
was
are?
Really?
Yes, because
Wow,
I have a rental. Now that may not, it's not all of them, but I have a rental search for my daughter and her fiance. So I don't normally look at all the rentals, but I was like, oh wow. So I'm starting to see a tiny, a rental
Yeah.
price
It's
reduction
probably
of
just a blip.
$100, a month. But I'm seeing a little bit of that.
Okay.
I know the rental market here for the last 5 years, it's for a single family home, unfurnished. We've had like a 3 or 4 week supply of single family homes for sale. And last time I looked, you couldn't find a single family home for under $1,400 or $1,500 to rent a month. They were all 2,000 and up. So the price for rentals on the long term has certainly gone up tremendously. And it's just because, we've had a huge demand, especially the last 2 years with the influx of everybody migrating from the north or the west coast into here. They haven't been able to find the property they wanted to buy, so they're renting. So besides having the local tenants that are here, we got the influx of people that are moving in either for their jobs or that they can work remotely. And they're taking up that rental inventory, which is an excellent opportunity if you have investors that are wanting to expand on the rental portfolio. So this could be a conversation that we have, or if you're an investor that's seeing this, realize that Florida, Brevard County and South Florida are 2 good markets for you to consider to expand your rental portfolio or to start your rental portfolio.
I know I personally am buying investment properties, even in this market.
Mm-hmm.
I try to tell people, I lead by example, and purchasing properties in this market, I'm doing it.
If the numbers make sense, the numbers make sense. It doesn't matter where the property rates are going or the interest rates are going. If the mortgage will cover the rental market or the rent will cover the mortgage.
Well, and I think, Eric, and Aimee, what you guys are talking about, right? Is making a lot of sense right now for people to even overpay, if they want to call it overpaying on the market, versus being in the stock market, right? That, when you own an asset like this, Aimee, tell your kids I said hi, by the way.
They can hear you.
It's an asset, I've got people that are overpaying for their investments, for their rental homes here. They're overpaying for their rental income homes, and they're okay with that. They're like, the cap may not be 10, but it's 7. I'm still okay at 7%.
Yep.
Versus what I'm going to get somewhere else with the stock market or even in the bank.
That's right. That's that too, and then not only that, but how long are you going to hang on to it for? Are you using this for a generational wealth? If you're looking at it for a flipping, that's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother YouTube video.
Yeah.
But as far as like the generational wealth, and that's primarily what my family and I are looking into, something that's more long-term. So purchasing now and hanging on to it for a while. And even if, whatever that cash flow is, doesn't have to be super substantial, but down the road, that equity is only building. So
correct. Now, is there a market in your area for Airbnbs or VRBOs? Are they allowed by the city or the municipalities? Is that a thing that you see that's happening in your areas?
So really, really good question. Our area, unless it's a single family home, but the HOAs are really strict in our area, very strict. So for the Airbnbs, primarily will have to be in single family homes, but it is doing fantastic. I work hand in hand with a company that does short-term rentals, and we have a great relationship because we can share business back and forth. And his business is booming. He said he's out to October before he can onboard anybody right now.
Really?
Because it's just so busy. Yeah. And he does Port St. Lucie, Jupiter area, Palm Beach Gardens. He's that little area right there. And it's off the chart. It's off the charts.
Yeah, I know Cocoa Beach is definitely an Airbnb frenzy area too, because the city, you're able to do daily rentals here if it's a single family home, and then it's dependent upon the condominiums on what you can and can't do. But we do have quite a few. There's probably a dozen that'll allow daily rentals, and 25 or 30 that'll allow you to rent a week or so.
Yep.
City of Cape Canaveral is 7-day minimum, so you can't rent for less than a week. And then the other cities, it really depends. Satellite Beach is very un-Airbnb friendly, where east of A1A, you're allowed to rent for 30-day minimum, but if you're on the west side, it's a 3-month minimum for any type of short-term rentals.
Okay.
So certain areas of Miami, there's a lot of restrictions on Airbnbs. So what that has done is that's created opportunities for Airbnbs in the other areas. So to find an Airbnb here, guys, it's very, very difficult right now. Like Aimee was saying, October. I don't think we're that tight here. I mean, October is like, a few months away, but it is, you better book in advance because the Airbnb market here is always full. It's very difficult.
It's a year-round thing then. It's just not like winter months. It's throughout the year.
It's year-round. I mean, in the summer, it tails off a little bit because there's not that many people coming from up north because it's warmer up there. But I would say starting the beginning of September all the way until June, it's, if you have an Airbnb here, you're doing quite well.
Excellent. So is it a thing in Boca?
Well, it's Boca.
Yeah, I figured because you were quiet, so I didn't think it was really a thing down there.
There's some Airbnbs around, of course, but they're very particular about it. And if you get a complaint, you're not going to be doing your Airbnb. However, cities around us are a little more, I think, accommodating in the sense that, you've got Delray and you've got Deerfield, Pompano. So there's definitely opportunity and options all throughout the South County, North Broward area. So yes, there's definitely opportunity.
Okay, cool. So what's happening in the new construction market? Have you seen any changes lately here in the last 6 weeks?
Oh, yeah.
Are you starting to get emails again from builders?
Yeah, they want to love us again, right, Aimee?
Oh, yeah.
They want us. Now they need us, right?
Yep.
So
definitely.
It is what it is. I mean, we don't have a big rental market here right now, but it's more the newer construction buildings, they can't build them fast enough.
Yeah.
By the time they're breaking ground, 95% of it has been sold. It's crazy.
Well, I know in our area, I think a lot of that's changing because the new construction was even before they broke ground, there were bids and the builders went from a lottery to highest and best. And now we're getting emails of, hey, we've got these that we released a week ago that are still available. Please, we're looking at all offers if you can come in and present your offer on it.
Yep.
Do you guys know if people are just walking away from their deposits? Because their deposits are hanging in low if they walk away.
That I don't know. I know Adams Homes is building here in the Port St. John area of Cocoa, and they just released through the MLS about a dozen properties. So I don't know if that was because buyers have canceled and they put it on the market for the quicker sale, or if they just got to that point of their construction where they release them, because they're one of the builders that wait until it's like 90% completed before they put it on the market for sale.
Got it. Cool.
I definitely know that there's some of those buyers that were into it, and because of those interest rates, that kind of makes them panic as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can't lock it long term.
They can't lock it long term, and what they were locked in before financially, they may not be eligible for it 3-4 months down the road, which is why we're seeing, this shift in the new construction as well.
Yeah,
most definitely.
Yeah.
But again, it's a welcome change because if somebody was wanting a brand new home, if they weren't there with their checkbook and ready to go $50,000 or higher over what they were asking for it, they were out of luck. Yep. Or they had to settle for the one that backed up to the brim that was near the railroad tracks or to the highway. They had to settle for a lesser quality house, or at least not what they're aiming for.
Yeah, yep. I had a D.R. Horton agent that I've worked with before call me, and she says, look, just go look at it. I know we wanted, 400, but they're definitely negotiating on the newer construction down in Homestead. There's a lot of negotiating going on down there right now.
Yeah.
Good.
There we go.
What's Michael say? So Michael Schneider, who's commenting here, he's a local real estate attorney who owns Echelon Title. I've known him for most of my career. He's a very good dude and attorney, has good insights on things. Looks like he's closing on the building for a condo developer, and nobody has walked away from the deposit. They are all closing because they know the equity is there. And again, that's another thing that I liked about new construction is you're pre-buying. So you're going under contract a year or so before it's built. Right. You're usually walking into equity. So you've really got to weigh the options if the 5.5%, 6% interest rate is worth the equity that you have on the line.
And that's what Aimee was alluding to earlier. I mean, long, generational, where you can hold this for 30, 40 years. And then at that point, you can go ahead and sell it if you need to. And if not, just keep it going,
So would you say now's a good time for somebody to buy?
Hell yeah.
100%.
Yep. I think it always goes back to their situation. It depends. For the most part, I think the market's healthy enough. And even though the inventory is building and it's slowing down just a touch, it's really not going to be slowing things down in the long run unless something catastrophic happens. So if things are lining up for you and you feel it's right for you to buy, by all means, you should look for the right property and be comfortable with that payment. And it doesn't matter what the rates are. And what was your quote from earlier, Aimee? Love the house.
Marry the house, not the interest rate.
That's beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yep. I think we have a quote today. That's for certain.
I guarantee you I'm going to use it. Yeah. Hey, listen, Aimee said this,
Aimee said this. I love this. I saw it earlier.
I definitely, I think to your point about, if the time is right for you and you're able to afford it, but don't be that person that says, I'm waiting for the bubble to burst and then I'm going to buy.
You'll be waiting for a while.
Because you'll be waiting forever. And so if you are in a good financial point to be able to purchase right now, it's no time like the present.
Especially with inventory growing and some of this, there's not as many buyers in the market right now. So it's a good chance for you to find that right house too.
Yep.
Because those buyers that have that mentality, it's good for the buyers that are getting off the fence and saying, you know what, I'm tired of renting and interest rates are probably going to have another hike by the end of the year. Let's go with what we know and not be looking back saying, oh my gosh, we shoulda, woulda, shoulda, coulda, to quote one of my favorite characters on TV. And let's get this ball rolling. At the same time, if you are a buyer and you're looking to buy, especially single family home, look into your insurance rate for that home. That is huge right now. With insurance companies not exactly at a premium in the state of Florida. And also the fact that they're very, very expensive, not that they've been ever cheap, but it's just really, really challenging. And it's just important to know ahead of time before you, as a buyer, the age of a roof right now is becoming problematic. And one of the reasons is because there's a huge delay in getting roofs done, like 4 to 6 to 8 months to actually get a roof done. There's a delay in getting the tile, etc. So these are the kind of conversations like you need to start having with your agent, with your insurance company, so that you can timeline, oh, my lease ends here. Okay, I need to do this. Oh, but what if you find a property and the insurance doesn't work for your payment, your principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, right? So these are the kind of conversations we are starting to have with home buyers. And then, of course, with home sellers, if their roof is of a certain age, we have to have these conversations about replacement, repairs, and again, like, is it an insurable situation? And mainly because the property adjusters went around and started doing funky stuff, and it really created a big problem. So
Eric, can I please?
Of course.
Yeah. So I come from that industry, right? I did that for 21 years. And yes, the public adjusters are somewhat to blame. You know, there's always about a couple bad apples in the bunch, but the attorney fees are actually the biggest culprit. The attorneys, not only the attorneys handling the claims, and I still do some of that work, but the fees is what has really driven the rate. And this is why they had a special session a few weeks ago, and they actually are not only capping fees, but they're not letting the attorneys get multipliers. Because if an attorney won a claim, which a lot of them were winning, because the insurance company said, if we get on if this goes to a jury, and half the people on the jury or more own a home, they're going to say no. We're going to go on. You know, we're going to side on behalf of the insured versus the carrier, right? Because everybody feels like they've been wronged by their carrier at one point or another. So yes, the public adjusters, I would say, were more of an issue 10, 12 years ago, but now it's more of the attorneys and the attorney fees. The multiplier going away is probably gonna phase out the fly-by-night guys. So the more serious claim handling attorneys are going to be the ones that are going to continue on. But yeah, I'll tell you right now, I tell my buyers the day we go under contract, start shopping now. Just yesterday, Southern Fidelity Insurance, which has been in Florida forever, has already said they're not insuring down here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of companies have pulled out. Most definitely.
Tons of companies have left.
Yeah. They've pulled out. They've gone insolvent. They've gone into receivership. We have FIGA, which is a Florida Insurance Guarantee Association, where they take over the claim and then they pay 60 cents on the dollar from what they should be paying. So
wow.
It is a problem. It is definitely an issue. I think you're going to see some more changes. You're going to start seeing hurricane deductibles change again. And I don't think that your typical $2,500 deductible is going to go away. But like, you know, to Michelle's point, you're going to see, depending on the age of the roof, your deductible is going to slide depending on the age of your roof, right? Mm-hmm. So over 15 to 20 years, your deductible is going to be this. 20 to 25 years is going to be more, and so on and so forth. So it is an issue. It's definitely an issue, guys.
So with the a lot of the insurance that I'm seeing here, I don't know what the age of the homes are that you're dealing with mostly. A lot of the homes here are older homes. So they're built in the 70s and 80s. So you need to have the 4-point inspection in order to even get a quote. So are you able to get insurance quotes without that 4-point? Or is it like a broad thing? It's going to be somewhere between here and here. And once we have the 4-point, we'll be able to dial it in a little bit more.
So that's what we're seeing, right? So what I try to do is whenever they do the inspection, they get the 4-point done at the same time. And usually your home inspector is going to say, hey, for $100 more, I'll go ahead and give you a full report, your 4-point and your wind mitigation. Yeah. What was that, Eric?
I said, those are the inspectors that I recommend the buyers work with.
Yeah.
You do it right there, one stop.
One-stop shop.
You get that in during the inspection period so that, and if you have a good insurance, I have a great insurance guy. That's just in our process.
Yep.
Our systems and processes. As soon as we get that, my assistant sends that right over to my insurance guy and says, here, give us a quote. Yep. And is there anything on this 4-point of the wind mitt that's going to hold us back from securing insurance? ? He gets it right to us.
Right.
So we know before we come out of that inspection period what that looks like. And then we have an opportunity to then go back to the seller and say, hey, look, this is where we're at. Can't get insurance because of XYZ. Either fix it or we got to move on. But if it's not us, it's going to be somebody else.
These problems just don't go away.
They don't go away.
And that's what I tell. So the house that my client is buying here that closes in 20 days, I said, look, the roof is going to be an issue now. It's going to be an issue for the next buyer and an issue for the following one, because it's all based on a specific protocol that has been put together by Tallahassee, right? The Office of Insurance Regulation, they're the ones that say, this is how we're going to do this, right? This is the actuaries are saying this. This is how we're going to set the rate. So, you know, we may say, well, let's see what the next buyer does, or let's see what the following buyer does. But at the end of the day, it's a protocol, and they're going to follow that.
Most definitely.
The water claim, Michael, I just was reading that. Are you referring to if a home has had a claim on water and another person comes in to purchase that? I guess maybe I'm not reading. I don't know if I'm reading
Let's
it
see.
right.
Let me read his question here. It says also water damage exclusions. We found out the hard way on a claim on a rental. I should have read the policy ahead of time. Yeah, right. So there's a couple things going on with the policies, right? Number one, they're limiting your coverage of water to $10,000. They're capping water damages. So if you have $100,000 claim, they're only going to pay 10 grand. They're not going to take the deductible. They're so nice, so nice. But you're going to get a check for 10 grand and that's it. So you're responsible for the other 90,000. Now, on some policies, they have modified the language or added an endorsement that takes away water all the way. It says, hey, you know what? Water exclusion, 100%. We're not going to pay any water damages. However, there is a way that they will cover it, and it says it right on the endorsement. Water damage not covered unless a named storm causes an opening to the roof and water intrusion occurs. Then they're responsible for the whole kit and caboodle. But other than that, they have the insurance policy has been bastardized in a way that it's like nothing is covered. Why do we have weight of snow covered in Florida? It doesn't snow here, but we have weight of snow coverage.
That's funny.
Why not, right?
You never know.
So, yeah, you see, he's saying the upstairs tub had a leak through the floor and the ceiling. And that's the other thing. When it comes to condos and certain townhomes that are not considered lot and block, the exterior wall may belong to the condo association. The drywall that's attached to the exterior wall also belongs to the association. But the drywall inside of the actual unit that is not considered a lot and block, so it's considered a condo unit, that is the responsibility of the unit owner. So they'll have what's called an HO6.
Yep.
So along that note on condos, and I just wanted to bring this up, tomorrow is the 1-year anniversary of the Surfside tragedy.
Yeah.
And, that's going to be ongoing for years, right? But it does affect the condo market here in Florida, especially coastal condos. And what are your thoughts on what we're going to see moving forward? I know Boca has already earmarked, I think, 14 condos that need to have these insurance inspections now.
Yep.
I think we're going to see a lot of condos increase their monthly maintenance fees, which they should. I think that the fact is the reserves, and I'll just be perfectly blunt, suck in most of the condos. And I think it's a mindset piece as well, that if someone sells a home, they feel like they don't have this responsibility to maintain a roof or a pool or common areas or lobby areas or elevators. And so their infighting that goes on between the board and the owners about raising the quarterly fee is part of the problem, because they basically pay for very little except the basics in most cases. So what do y'all see in your areas? I know, like I said, Boca is already saying we need to check on some of these condos because of the terrible tragedy that happened. And
yeah, so any building that is within 3 miles of the shoreline, okay, so anything on the bay, pretty much anything east of US 1 is within 3 miles of the ocean. Their 40-year recertification is now 25 years recertification.
Wow.
So it goes right to what Michele just said. What happens now is, okay, guys, we need to assess. Right? So hoping we don't get a hurricane, because you get a hurricane, you're going to get assessed, right? But let's say the building is now, like for instance, my mom is in a she's in a 50-year-old building. So the recertification is, it was originally 40-year, then 50, and then 75. It is going to 25, 40, and then I think they're trying to do 5-year increments. They may be going to a 10-year increment. but it's pretty scary because of what Michele just said. You know, the 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 fees suck. They're, you know, I mean, out
They're
of
just
control.
too low. They're just too low. They don't handle anything.
Yeah, they don't do anything, you know. And then you tell somebody, listen, the elevator, I don't know, a standard elevator replacement is about 50 grand, and the building has 10 elevators, so that's $500,000 multiplied by X units and divided by that. Everybody's getting assessed $10,000, and people freak out.
Mm-hmm.
And
not
they freak out on
everybody
any
has
assessment.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Not everybody has that money. And you know, at certain Surfside, that was something that was coming into play that next week, I believe, is they had just finally approved this very large, like 90,000, give or take, per unit kind of thing.
per unit.
And
I
this
had a
was
unit,
like per
a rental.
unit.
I had a
And
rental
then-
at 8855,
Oh,
and I drove under that building, and I got out of my car, and of course, coming from the adjusting business, I looked around and I was like, this thing
Yeah.
is leaking everywhere.
yeah.
It was
Wow.
like the pool was leaking. I was like, this is not good. I mean, and that was a year prior to the collapse.
There's a lot of infighting going on, which does happen in condos.
Yeah.
And people then become very excluded because they want to do X, Y, Z, and other people don't. So then it becomes like, you know, a mean
It
girl.
becomes a fighting match,
scenario.
basically.
A lot
Well-
of times that's the best way I say. But if you're a buyer and you're looking at condos, to your point, Hector, if you are walking around the building, look up, look around, look and see, are there cracks? Is there rebar showing? What are you actually seeing when you're in these garages? Are you seeing water? Are you seeing things? Like, I think buyers really have to be more aware. And then also not just asking for condo docs, but hey, we would like to see minutes, because I'd like to know what you guys were discussing, even though on seller disclosures and whatnot, it says, you know, has this been discussed in the last 12 months? Did they put off an assessment? That's another one. Like, did they put off an assessment like 5 years ago, and they keep putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, you know, and what is that for? You know,
And a big one, Michele, how about the inspection report? Can we see an inspection report that was done by the engineering firm?
yep.
Where's the
Well,
report?
If you see it in the minutes that they had one done, you should be able to ask for it, and
Yeah.
hopefully the seller will be able to provide it. I always like walking around the outside of the condominiums, look at the paint. How long ago has it been painted? You know, you wipe the wall if your hand is chalky. It certainly hasn't been done lately. Condition of the railings are always a good thing too, because if they're
that's a
keeping up
big
with
one.
those things, then the general maintenance should be done too, and hopefully it won't be an issue like that.
I agree with you. I mean, I always, and I pointed out not only for my buyers, but I pointed out to my sellers.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, listen, you know, you got stucco cracks, you have step cracks in the stucco, you have spalling rebar. That was what Michele was talking about, where you see the rebar popping through the concrete. It's called spalling, right? The areas that are near the beach, because of the salt, I mean, the salt is brutal on these buildings. Brutal. They
Brutal
take
on everything.
You know, it tears up everything. Cars, you know, you have cars that have been sitting in a garage for 20 years, and you look at them and you're like, wow, this car must have come from up north, and they were like salting the streets where the car. No, it's been sitting right there by the ocean. So it is brutal what the salt does. You know, when you tell them, oh, we have this huge assessment because we're going to put in new balconies, and we're going to go with glass balconies because they don't rust as fast as regular aluminum or metal or cast iron, iron. And they're like, oh, but we don't want glass. Oh, but it's like,
I know.
it's so much better. Why wouldn't you want that? But they don't want to pay, to Michele's point, this huge assessment. That's anyway, it's going to increase the value of the building.
Well, you know what was interesting is we had a Clubhouse discussion, which is a social audio app. And this was last year when this happened. And a couple of people came up with the thought process of having an exit payment and a, you know, incoming payment for everyone, a capital contribution to get those reserves more robust. The other thing is condo boards need to start tapping into those lenders that will do a loan, because again, going back to, not everybody has money for a big assessment or even a small one.
Yeah, even a $10,000 assessment could put a hurting on somebody. You know, 10 grand is still a lot of money.
Yeah, it would put a hurting on my mom. I mean, and that's what's going on as well, right? Most of the people that are in condos, I'm not saying all of them, but most of the people that I'm seeing in these condos are retired. They're on a fixed income. They've been in the unit, like my mom, 30 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, can she afford a $10,000 assessment? She can't. You know, it falls on my sisters and I, and at least she has us. But what about the people that don't have that?
Yeah.
You know, that's what scares me. It really does.
Well, I know with the condo I just closed today that during the appraisal part of it, the lender had wanted the appraiser to go back out for exterior photos just to confirm the condition of what they saw on it. Not that the appraiser was any type of engineer or anything along those lines, but they came out specifically just to check on the exterior maintenance to confirm it was all in good shape.
On the stucco, yeah, I'm sure. I mean,
the concrete restoration itself is just incredibly expensive.
Yes, it is, because they have to inject the concrete to make sure that the inside is as solid as the outside.
Yep.
So it is very expensive, very, very expensive. The other issue is that some of these condos, they're cutting corners, guys. I mean, I'm telling you, they're grouting the concrete and saying that's good enough, and it's not. It's not. The concrete has to get torn out. It has to get, the cages need to be redone for the rebar, and it has to be repoured. That's it. Concrete has a life expectancy, especially when it's near the water.
Well, folks, I think this has been a great conversation, and we're coming up on the 1 hour mark. I can't believe it's already been an hour. It's gone by pretty quick, I think. Hopefully those who've been watching it will think the same way as well. Do you have any parting words or messages you like to say before we kind of tune out?
Ask us whatever questions. Send us some DMs. Send us emails. If you don't have it,
I'll be dropping everybody's contact information in the comments, so they'll see it on YouTube, and we'll all have access to this to YouTube as well. And I'll definitely be following up on the comments that we have, the ones that we haven't posted. But I appreciate the comments from everybody that was here and participated. I really appreciate all three of y'all's time. I really enjoyed this, and hopefully we'll be able to continue this here in weeks to come. We'll find some other great topics to talk about.
Absolutely. I'd love to do this more and more.
Yeah.
So thanks, everyone.
Thank you. And listen, if you're watching this, now is the time to buy or sell.
Yes.
Now.
Not yesterday, not
Now.
today. Call Eric, call
Now.
Amy, call Michelle, call me. We are here. We are going to make this happen for you. We promise.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, Eric. And
Eric,
make sure
thank
you
you so
tune
much.
in and share this
Yeah.
video, guys.
All right. Y'all take care.
Bye.
All right. That
Oh, I
ended.
think we're still